You don't want to make much. No, you take it. Take it off. Yeah, get it on the table. We'll do some more over here, Donna.
Oh, well, I don't have any more coffee.
Yeah, it's the same for credit union. They're thinking of combining the credit union and center for each day and putting us aside.
Got you. That's solid for you. Help yourself. Reach that.
I saw you.
they'd like to chair, there's still some room in here. Several back in the middle, some on the side, so come on in. And as soon as we get going with the meeting, why, many of the kids will go and watch cartoons in another room. So we got some door prizes for them first. So I'll call this 50th annual meeting of our Benson County Co-op Credit Union to order. It's been a interesting year and a fun year planning for this 50th annual meeting. Mr. Secretary, do we have a quorum?
345 members and 23 guests are registered.
Thank you. We have a quorum. We'll start out the meeting right away by giving all our kids 12 and under a door prize. I think Gordon has got a whole bunch of $2 bills for our kids here. So maybe if Gordon get down in front here and maybe Dave Anderson and all you kids line up and get your hand out. For the cartoons in the room to be my left over here, and I believe there's a movie for older kids in a room to the right. I don't know which room it is, but so there will be 2 types of videos available for kids while we have our meeting. Any kids are bashful, come on up anyway. Have daddy and mom help. We're just excited to see so many young people coming to these meetings. Okay, yeah, we'll leave word down in the room. Anyone that didn't receive a door prize can still get one. This time we'll ask if it would be all right with you people to just approve the minutes from the last annual meeting as written to save time. Is there a motion to that effect? Moved by Odell to approve the motion, approve the minutes as printed. Is there a second? Down here. Okay, all in favor of that, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. I guess I'll start out the meeting with just a brief report from the Board of Directors. I have my written report in the program. Just a couple comments I thought we'd make. That one thing that I want to remind you people that any of us board members and Gordon and Dave, we're always open to comments from you people. You have any questions or recommendations, we want to hear about it because that's the only way we can improve our operation. Is there might be things out there you people have in your mind that we're not aware of, and we want to know either problems or good things. So feel free to contact any of us board members. I guess one of the things we have to look at in the next few years, we don't know that we doubt it will be this year, but we're we really have to take a look at expanding our building facilities here in Maddock. We are totally out of office room. The vault is full. We have no place, any place further to store records. We don't even have a conference room ready for any type of meetings with patrons or when our examiners come and so forth. I guess Gordon will have to give up his office now the way it looks to take care of them. So we've used up our space. So that's one thing in the next year or two we're going to have to be looking at. I guess that would conclude my report. I move that report be accepted. Is there a second? Motion's been made and seconded that we accept the report. I guess properly should have the vice chairman do that. You'll let me by with this, won't you? All in favor of the motion, say aye. Opposed? Motion carried. This time we'll call on our report of our credit committee. We've got Urban Peterson from Maddock and Steve Doctor from Leo Hufford from Rugby.
The Maddock Credit Committee approved 1,126 loans for $8,726,784.51. Some loans were rejected for various reasons. The committee meets once a week. We usually are on Wednesday. This sometimes varies if two of the members can't be there. So if you feel that you would like to meet with the credit committee, we're welcome to it. Mr. Chairman, I move that the report be accepted.
Thank you. Heard the motion. Is there a second? Any discussion? If not, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. And while it's fresh on my mind, I want to especially thank Cindy Hagelin and Pam Anderson for entertaining us on the piano. And if you people feel that Cheryl and Lester Ellingson and Donna and Ronnie Smith did a good job making a meal, let's give them a hand. We want to thank our FFA boys for helping with the serving. Now,
The Rugby Credit Committee approved $9,449,169 in loans, which were dispersed in 1989. Some loans were also rejected for various reasons. We meet once a week or at special meetings if necessary. We approved approximately 1,212 loans during the past year. Mr. Chairman, this is my report as approved.
thank you. Heard the motion. Is there a second motion to adopt the report? Phyllis, move to adopt the report. Any discussion? No. Not all in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. And do we have a report now from the Education Committee? Are you prepared for a report? Phyllis Hermanson.
The Education Committee meets quarterly or when necessary to write the newsletter, plan the 6-month promotions, Credit Union Day, contests, and during the past year, the 50th anniversary. On Credit Union Day, we had open house at the office in Maddock. Anniversary cake was served with coffee, cider, or pop as a kickoff for the coming 50th anniversary. We had drawings for adults, preschool, grades 1 through 6, and 7 through 12. We were happy to have nearly 200 guests this day. The committee recommends you read the newsletters for information of the 6-month promotions, the many contests, special occasion drawings such as Mother's Day, and look for the hidden account number. If yours, notify the office and receive $10 or more addition to your account. The credit union supports the youth of our county, the 4-H. It sponsors the FFA calendar, also the OB Note Scholarship. Parents or students look for details of the scholarship in a newsletter or inquire at the Maddock or Rugby office. We are happy to have youth representatives to assist us. This past year, we were saddened by the death of our longtime committee member, dear friend and co-worker, Gertrude Simon. At our November meeting, we welcomed 2 new members, Judy Randall and Rita Simon. I should say Rita Sorley. I made a mistake there. I always think of her as Rita Simon. Other members are Bernice Honorud, Mavis Arney, Noreen Bergwood, Kathy Knatrud, Lorraine Logson, Joyce Olson, Irene Plum, Donna Smith, and myself, Phyllis Hermanson. Would the members please stand and be recognized? I think we should give them a hand. They do. Mr. Chairman, I move this report be accepted.
Thank you. We've heard the report of the Education Committee. Is there a second to the motion? Second motion. Any discussion? If not, all in favor of adopting the motion, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Now we get to hear from this guy that all of you get a letter from once or twice a year with his name on, and you all wonder who Daryl Rich is. And these are faithful CPA that audit us all of us each year. And he's the guy that we always say he's our good news and our bad news man, because he gives a little bit of both each time. But most of the time he gives us good news. So, Daryl? Daryl's from Devil's Lake, and I should introduce his wife Ann down here too.
It's nice to be at Maddock. I believe this is the 3rd time I've tried to make a meeting over here. 2 snowstorms. I had a problem with the one this morning again. I thought it would happen. I guess I'm still amazed when I see Gordon and Dave up here passing out the money. I look for that sucker every year when I do the audit. And for some reason, I want to get this secret, but they came out $170 a head again this year. The other thing I don't know is where they hide those $2 bills. You're going to find them somewhere. Quite seriously, this year I believe we had to send out a couple of verifications. Somebody mailed a bunch of information to the wrong offices. I believe probably half the members got 2 letters this year instead of 1. Hopefully that don't happen again. Basically on the audit, I told Dave I'd go over the whole thing. We spent 3 hours at the board on it, and Dave said no, 5 minutes or less would be sufficient. So basically what we do is we verify the accounts. We go through most of the loans, check the transactions, chew the board out where we think they're wrong, praise them a little bit when they do something right. And I guess that's the nice part of being an auditor. It's always beautiful when you go look at what people have done. Hindsight tells you exactly what they should have done, and you can tell them so. And they really appreciate that, I'm sure. I guess I hope to be back next year. I've always enjoyed working with the board. As far as on the audit, we've never had any major problems, never had any cash shortages. I guess we have far less problems than most financial institutions probably have. It's really been enjoyable. Thank you.
Thank you, Daryl. This time I'll introduce our head table here. We have a real fortune tonight to have our state Credit Union League president here, Arnie Paulson, and Dave Anderson, our branch manager from Rugby, Bob Fill, board member, Gordon, Oscar Clevin, our secretary of the board, and Dean Lindgren, board member. We have Dick Ivers, who's not here tonight. He had other commitments. So this time we'll call on Dave Anderson for a report from the Rugby branch. basically tonight all I want to do is thank the members from the rugby area for doing business with us for another year, and I hope we can continue doing business with you and continue satisfying you and so on. And I want to be sure you understand, like Dave Volge said here earlier tonight, that when you do have problems with us, we'd appreciate it if you'd let us know what they are, or if you got some suggestions as far as how we can do some things better. We're always open for suggestions. You can come in and see me, or tell one of the girls, or whatever you want to do. Send us a letter, whatever. Sometimes they're a little easier to do, maybe. I also want to say that I hope you enjoy the rest of the evening. I think the board of directors here tonight in Gordon and the committee that worked on the Centennial stuff has put together a good deal for you with the belt buckles and the cups, and they really went all out to do a good deal for you there, and they've got some stuff planned for you tonight. I'd like to introduce the employees from rugby at this time, and I'd like to hold your applause until I've introduced them all, if they would stand as I introduce them. Phyllis Brozart. Down here, okay. Carla Bush. Brenda Bischoff. And Sharon Selensky. I think these are four of the, definitely some of the most important people in my life, and they make my job real easy lots of times. They do a heck of a job, and I think we should appreciate them for it at this time. The only other thing I want to touch on tonight is the grassroots thing, and most of you, I'm sure, are just starting to hear about it. I want to thank all of the rugby people who stopped in the rugby office and were willing enough to sign the petition. All I can say about it is I don't see why the banks want to put an end to us. We're not interested in putting an end to them. I think they have to realize that I think it's going to take all different kinds of financial institutions to keep the country going, and hopefully they realize that before they go too far. But anyway, thanks to everybody who signed it. If you haven't signed one yet tonight, and you haven't signed one in one of the offices, I'm sure there'll be one available for you to sign before you leave tonight. The last thing I wanted to do tonight was recognize Hartley Hagness, and he wasn't able to be here tonight because he had some bus breakdowns in Montana that he was flying parts around for. Hartley's kind of a busy guy. But anyway, we are going to be giving him a plaque. He's resigning his position and retiring from it. This one says, for 6 years, dedicated service to the Benson County Co-op Credit Union, Rugby, North Dakota, as a member of the credit committee. And actually, Hartley has been on the credit committee a little longer than that, before we merged with Maddock in 1984. He was on the credit committee at that time, and I think it is 9 or 10 years. I guess I didn't check it out exactly, but we're going to be giving him that. And even though he isn't here, I think him and the other credit committee members from rugby need a round of applause, and they are, before you applaud, Leo Hufford, who I guess you've seen already, and Steve Doctor was unable to attend tonight too, but those three guys do a lot of work and spend a lot of time. So I'd like to give them a hand of applause. Thank you. Thank you, Dave. At this time, we'll call on our good manager, Gordon, for some insight on what's happened, and see if he's got any both good news and tell you some interesting problems too, maybe.
Well, before I start, I'd like to introduce the staff from Maddock. I think I have one of the best office staffs of anybody in the state, because I do serve on a state board, and I go to quite a few national meetings, and I'm out of the office quite a bit. And it seems to run better when I'm gone. We got Wanda Turpning, loan officer. Ernie Councilman. Wendy Arnie. And our newest one that started about in December full-time, Pam Lang. Well, it's been another interesting year. about 3 years of dry weather. We have had a pretty good year. There's a few problems out there, but we'll survive it, I'm sure. As you can see by the statement of operations, we had total income of $2,202,000. And you deduct the office expenses. And one thing that's interesting, a figure that always amazes me, is the dividends and interest we paid on deposits was $1,339,000 for total operating expenses of about $1,870,000, which give us net earnings of $331,000. Some people might think, you know, when you handle that much money that you should make a little more, but I think it's a real good, strong earning point. It amounts to about 16% of total income. Very good. And out of those net earnings, we transfer 10% of total income into reserves for loan losses, and we put the balance of it into undivided earnings, which can be used for anything, loan losses, transfers to anything, buildings if you want. And as you look down the sheet, I'm not going to go through all these numbers. For the last year and a half, we've been trying to hold our growth down. We haven't succeeded very good. We grew over $3 million last year. But we like it. The people that don't are the examiners that come around. They come around and they tell you, if you're not doing anything, if you're standing still, they give you heck. If you grow too fast, they climb all over you. Because you don't keep up to the reserving part. But we think we got a pretty good handle on everything, even though the years haven't been good. The outlook isn't good for next year. But we're not turning anybody away. We're going to try and work with them just like we always do. And basically, that's my report. Has anybody got any questions about the operation that I could answer at this time?
How much do we have in the reserve now total?
Well, when you count all the reserves, all the equity, we got, as of the end of January, it was about $1,300,000. You take all your reserve accounts, your undivided earnings, and your allowance for loan losses. Yeah. It's about $1,365,000, I believe. Any other questions? Oh, this is easy. That's my report, Mr. Chairman. Move this report be accepted.
Thank you for the manager's report. Is there a second to accept the report?
Second.
Okay. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. I suppose at this time we should adopt or accept the report of our manager and of Dave's report too. Is there a motion to approve his report? Got the motion. Is there a second? Accept the report.
Yeah, I'll say.
Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. This time we'll call on Gordon to introduce Arnie Paulson.
Okay, I want to go back a few years. When I first started with the credit union, I was sent down for training to Jamestown. And at that time, they had just hired a new president of the league, whose name was Don Cooper. And you talk about a wild elf. But I tell you, that's just what this state needed. It woke them up with, because the league was practically dead. He didn't stick around too long, and they hired a couple other league presidents. They didn't stick around too long. Then they hired, in 1973, they hired Arnie Paulson. Now, Arnie has been with the credit union movement since 1954. He served as a, you correct me if I'm wrong, but he served on the board of directors. I believe you were treasurer manager of a credit union for 10 years. He worked for Union Mutual as a representative, served on the South Dakota Credit Union League board, and he's been with the North Dakota Credit Union League since 1973. And he has done one terrific job. I'll tell you, the league and these credit unions in the state wouldn't be what they are now if it hadn't been for Arnie. I'd like to welcome Arnie with a big round of applause.
Thanks a lot, Gordon. Those kind words are makes a person feel real good. When Gordon was talking about the league presidents that didn't stay very long, he said they didn't stick around too long. And then they said Arnie Paulson. I thought he was going to say he did stick around too long. You people are probably kind of fortunate. I had a couple of notes here. My glasses are in the car, so I probably can't read them, so that'll probably shorten my talk a little bit. But I do want to recognize a couple of people. Gordon said some nice things about me, and I appreciate that. I work for a board of 9 directors. Gordon is one of those, and he's chairman of that board. And I just think second to none in terms of a board to work for. They've got the interest of the 160,000 credit union members in the state at heart. So Gordon is one of my 9 bosses. I'd like to take the personal privilege of introducing one of the other bosses. Dwayne Gronfer is here from Williston. If Dwayne would stand up, and his wife Phyllis. Then my chief boss is with me tonight, and I'm really pleased to have her with me, Betty, my wife Betty from Bismarck. It's really a nice golden anniversary that this credit union has put together. In North Dakota this year, there are 11 credit unions celebrating their golden anniversary. So we've had a lot of fun, and it's just started. I was just calculating when I was eating supper tonight that this is my 5th credit union supper in 9 evenings. And I hesitated to say that because with Dwayne and Gordon here, Dwayne and Gordon, they may want to cut back on my salary knowing that I get all these free suppers. But I sure appreciate being here, and it's always fun to go to a credit union such as this that has kept purpose constant. It's also an awful lot of fun to hear an auditor's report such as you heard tonight, and the auditor didn't say a lot, but I'm sure had things not been so good, he probably would have said more. It's a good report, and I sure commend Gordon and Dave and their staffs and the board and the committees and the education committee. I always get excited about hearing the activities of the education committee at this credit union. It's really been a solid committee that I know has meant a lot to this particular credit union. One of the things that Gordon says, I don't know if you ought to tell people this, but I can't help but tell it because this credit union, he's already getting nervous. This credit union is #1 in the nation in terms of the agricultural loans that they are making. Now, when you think of the credit unions around the country, there are some that are tremendously large, some of them in the billions of dollars. But credit unions in this country have more traditionally served employee groups. North Dakota is unique, and this credit union is the most unique in terms of
Most of their business is farm lending, and as you know, that's large loans. And in fact, Gordon every once in a while has to give some examiners some lessons in farm lending. But I commend you for that, because farming is such an important part of this state, and for this credit union to be #1 in the nation. In fact, of the 20 credit unions in this country that make the most agricultural loans, it's either 6 or 7 of them are from North Dakota. So that I think when we go back to our roots in Flammersfeld, Germany, we've kind of forgotten, but that's why credit unions were started in 1850, was to serve a farm element that were really being gouged on the interest rates on their loans. They had fallen on hard times, and if they could get a loan at all, they paid excessive amounts of interest. And that was really the purpose in starting credit unions. If I can read a couple of my notes, I've talked a little bit about philosophy of credit unions. They came out of a real need. I think in this affluent society that we live in, a lot of times we think, have credit unions outlived their usefulness? Not by a long shot. Our economy is hurt up here, and if there's ever been a need for credit unions, this is it. I know that Gordon many times has mentioned, there's a lot more need out there that we aren't even able to take care of. The need is there. And I think credit unions, and I'm sure Gordon and his people, credit committee and staff, do a good job of helping people when they borrow, in terms of advising them and counseling them. And I think that's where a credit union is a little bit different. And I suspect they, like a lot of credit unions, make loans all the way from $50 or $100 up to $50,000 or $100,000 and more. And so that's quite an array of loans, and being able to serve that serve those needs is tremendous. 2 or 3 things about co-ops, and I think there are a number of credit unions that live by these pretty well. I think this one does especially well, and that is that first of all, democratic control. People coming out to meetings like this to put that democracy to use and elect your people, hear the reports, and if they're not what they ought to be, go to the people that run it. Member education, and here you've got an education committee. That's one of the things a cooperative is supposed to do, and this credit unions are co-ops. They're a cooperative financial institution. And thirdly, cooperation amongst cooperatives, and here I think this credit union once again stands tall in terms of cooperating. I know that Gordon has given up his time many times to give advice to other credit unions. I've even been with him at other credit unions where his advice and counsel has been worthwhile. And then for him to give of his time, and the board to allow Gordon to give of his time to help run the league. You people have I think it was, I forget, Birchendrin, Filene, one of the founders, made the statement that we should prove in some small measure the practicality of the brotherhood of man. And that's our purpose, and I think this credit union has kept purpose constant. One of the things, however, that is kind of a dark spot on the horizon is that we're being threatened at this point in time. Dave Anderson just alluded to it a little bit. You were asked to sign petitions out in front. I think one of the things that has happened is credit unions have been successful, and nobody told us we weren't supposed to be successful. And I think we've suffered. The development of the savings and loan crisis came along at a time when we really didn't need that. We are a financial institution, a cooperative financial institution. Others suffer when one segment of that industry suffers, and the savings and loans have really suffered. One of the things that I like to point out, and it's probably my own theory as to why savings and loans got in the problems they did. If we go back in years, savings and loans had 3 things in common with credit unions of today. They were highly regulated, they were mutual organizations, and they were tax exempt. And we still have those things in place. I think as long as we fight for it and keep that in place, we're going to stay out of trouble. Savings and loans difficulties began probably not necessarily all at the same time these things happened, because they started converting to stock companies from mutual companies quite a few years ago. They also lost their tax-exempt status quite a few years ago. And then in the early 80s, when the real buzzword in Capitol Hill and Washington as well as Bismarck was deregulation, get government off my back and we'll be okay. I'm not sure that we can get government off our backs totally. There is a place for government. Had deregulation come into play for savings and loans, along with very strong supervision, they might have survived. But they lacked both regulation and supervision. And they got into businesses they should have never been into. And we're all paying for it. Why am I talking about that? I think this is the reason that we see some clouds on our horizon as to what's going to happen to credit unions. And when I say clouds, it's only to tell you that it's just a matter of something that Knut Rockne said a long time ago, and a name like that ought to be popular in Maddock. It is with me, being of Norwegian descent. He made the statement that when the going gets tough, the tough get going. And I think credit union people have to get going. We have the petitions you signed. We have thousands of signatures already in our office in Bismarck, and we'll continue to collect those. The reason being this: when the savings and loan bill came through last fall, it was called FIREA, Federal Financial Institution Reform, Recovery and Enforcement Act. When that was put in there, the Treasury, U.S. Treasury, which has never been a strong friend of ours, we've always had problems with that entity of the administration. That's never been a friend of ours. In addition to that, the national associations, both the Independent Community Banks Association in Washington, also the American Bankers Association, saw fit to suggest to Treasury that maybe, just maybe, credit unions are in problem too, and we ought to take care of them at the same time. Let's get rid of their insurance fund and put it in with FDIC. Let's put them under the comptroller of the currency instead of having their own agency. And let's make them charge off their 1%. I think, if I'm not mistaken, I saw in your financial statement 137,000. Is that about it, Gordon? Somewhere in that area. 200,000 that you have, you're carrying on your books, but that money is in Washington to be used. First of all, the earnings on that is to be used to help hurting credit unions that have to go through liquidation and making sure the members don't lose any money. Also, if the things got bad enough, they could expense out part of that. But we think it's working. Our fund is being built up all the time. It's stronger all the time. We don't want to have this credit union show a $200,000 expense one year, just because the savings and loans had problems, and just because our opposition thought that's a good way to make them pay through the nose. We think that's a distinct problem, a possibility if we don't fight. The other thing is to just get rid of our National Credit Union Administration. We have, going back to the days of the Bureau of Federal Credit Unions, have never cost the government a penny. It's always been a self-supporting agency. We have never, our insuring fund is getting stronger. We are now at $1.27 per $100 insured. The Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation sits at about 70-some cents per 100. And of course the Savings and Loan Insurance Fund is gone. It's now, they're now using taxpayer dollars to bail them out. And that's not to bash savings and loans. What I'm really bashing is the way that they behaved in Texas and California and Florida that costs all of us. So I think what finally came out of that whole thing, we were able to fight off the request that we have to charge off this money and things like that. But what came out of that is a General Accounting Office study and a U.S. Treasury study of credit unions. And of course, our banking lobbies in Washington got that in there. We don't mind being studied, but let's have it be objective. And we're kind of watching over that right now. We expect that our opposition will not let up. We're expecting that in early 1991, about the time the second savings and loan bailout bill comes along, and it will come along. The first one only cost us $167 billion. There will be more. We just don't want to be thrown in the middle of that. We've got a fund that works, we've got an agency that works, and we just simply don't want Washington to wipe out credit unions as we know them. We only have about 5% of the assets of all the financial institutions in the country. We're certainly not a threat. Citicorp alone is bigger than all of our 13,500 credit unions put together, and yet they see a problem in us. It tells me something about being scared of something that if we could be a threat to them, then they must be doing a lot of things wrong, because we're just simply not that big. With Citicorp, for example, being bigger than all of them put together. We are afraid that we have to be vigilant. We have to try our best to keep anything like that out of the bill, out of the second FIREA or a FISLIC bailout. To do that, we have to encourage credit unions to be ready to send somebody to Washington. If a bill like that should hit, we have to defend against it. We probably will need 20,000 people in Washington when that bill hits. We'll probably need 50 or 75 people on the doorstep of every one of our congressional delegation from all over the country. I can paint a real good picture to you. Gordon and I and 4 other people from North Dakota were recently in Washington. We feel very good about the support of our 3 people. I don't think we have to worry about that. On the other hand, they tell us, you know, that the bankers' associations are on me unmercifully. This is the words of Congressman Dorgan. And, you know, the people back here are saying, hey, get those credit unions. And they're using this particular vehicle to try and scare people into thinking that we've got a problem. Our only message, Gordon and mine and the rest of us that were there, was we didn't come here we're not asking for anything. We just want to be left alone. And when we said we're not asking for anything, Senator Burdick told his aide there, he says, did you hear that? You better write that down. It's the first time that's ever happened that somebody came here and weren't asking for something. We said, we ain't broke, don't fix us. And really that was the message, and we encourage you to be supportive of the efforts of Gordon and his staff and your board in getting petitions signed and getting resolutions adopted or whatever you may do. So I'm just leaving that message with you, and I don't want to leave on a downbeat feeling. We can win this battle without a doubt. But that's where people like the League, Dwayne, Gordon, myself and the staff and all the directors, we've got a job to do in behalf of you people. But it isn't going to be won by me, by Gordon. It isn't going to be won by some attorney that's a lobbyist for credit unions. It's going to be won by the people here that are willing to tell your congressman that you like what the Benson County Credit Union is doing for you. With that, I thank you for the opportunity to have been with you. I want to, however, take this opportunity to make a little presentation, and if I can ask maybe some of the people to help unwrap something. The North Dakota Credit Union League has brought a clock to hang on the wall of the credit union office with a little plate. And it's awful difficult to unwrap, and the pendulum isn't hung on it yet, but it's a clock, and it's congratulating your credit union on 50 years of service to this community. And with that, once again, congratulations to the credit union, and thanks for the opportunity to chat with you.
Thank you so much, Arnie. I really appreciate this clock as a memento of your efforts statewide too, to support us as we work with you. Also at this time, we're happy to present a belt buckle on a plaque here to Arnie Paulson. Since 1940, Benson County Co-op Credit Union to 1990, and at rugby and at Maddock, and it's presented to the president of North Dakota Credit Union League, Arnie Paulson.
Thanks a lot to the board and to you members. This is something that I guarantee it'll be on the wall at my office very soon, and I'll be very proud of it. Thank you.
Thank you. Just thinking of a thought that went through my head a little bit ago in our operation of our business. This last year, we seem to have been about 1% under in our interest rates than much of the competition out there. And that's a saving to our community of about $200,000 that would have left the community through if their interest rate would have been higher. And I think that's one thing we've got to think about are the benefits from our organization, that we are, even the stuff to pay that interest bill, it's probably a good deal compared to what's available elsewhere. Okay, is there any old business to be brought before the meeting? Anyone have anything to be brought up in line of old business at this time? If not, what about any new items, new business? Any items that you'd like to discuss or bring up at this time?
Mr. Chairman, I think this group should adopt a resolution supporting this grassroots, the credit unions are doing, Operation Grassroots, and send to our congressional delegation along with the treasurer, the National Credit Union League for president, and whoever else, President Bush. I'll do that.
That's a very good idea. Would you care to make that a motion?
Yeah, I'll move that.
Okay, this is an important work to work with our legislation on this, and we need all the support, even like signatures, for instance. After the meeting, we're even going to have a little kitty out here and see if someone wants to drop a few bucks in it to help support this movement. We have a motion on the floor to go on record for supporting the grassroots program. Is there a second? A second here. Any further discussion? I know at some later point here we'll have Gordon or someone comment more on this program. Being we have a motion on the floor, all in favor of the motion, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. I don't know, did you want to comment any more on that at this point, Art and Gordon? Or?
Well, you heard Arnie Paulson talk about Washington, D.C., and I tell you, the CUNA National Association, the CUNA Washington office is really on top of this, and they are really worried that this insurance thing is going to be coming up, and there's two studies going on now, one by the GAO and one by the Treasury Department, and they're the boys that we can't talk to at all. I guess if anybody out here that we have helped probably couldn't get help any other place, or they really appreciate the help we've given them, if they would put this in a form of a letter, address it to the congressman, you can bring it in to me, we'll see that it gets to the congressman, because this is what they're looking for, is good stories about credit unions. And when Dave mentioned we might set something up out here to, if you want to drop some pocket change in the cup on the way out. It's a funny thing, but when it comes to political action, we have in the state we have a QPAC, Credit Union Political Action Committee, and the national is QLAC. Credit unions cannot contribute to this themselves. It all has to be contributed by individuals or some kind of a fundraiser. We have a fundraiser going on at our annual meeting this year, and our board has everyone on our staff and board is going to be donating to this. But it's really a funny thing when the credit union can't give money to fight something itself. It has to come from the people. That's why we're probably going to be setting up a little box. If you want to drop in some change, fine. If not, it's entirely up to you. But it really sounds like in a year or so, it's really going to be a fight in Washington. And we need all the help we can get, because we just don't want to be merged in with the bank insurance and stuff. Because we have a better fund all on our own. They put us together and our fund goes to heck, and we come under banking regulations again. So,
Thank you, Gordon. Is there any further new business or discussion? Milt?
Dave, inside of the tables there, I noticed you have about a dozen and a half of services that the credit union provides. And I wish somebody would maybe give a little short synopsis of some of these things and explain what they really are, because some are self-explanatory and some aren't.
That's good. I think we were going to do it later, but I think now it'd be good. Yeah, this is one of the staff members. Who's the lucky one who put a finger on? Wanda? Cool. Cindy. Oh, Cindy's hiding. Gotta have Cindy. Come on up and tell us about what you got. What do we have to offer? Come on.
We have life savings insurance, money in your regular shares up to $2,000. Life insurance, loan protection. You're protected in insurance up to $10,000. This costs you nothing. This is all free. I got a big bone.
Okay, did you hear the beginning? We have life savings insurance up to $2,000 in your regular shares. No charge whatsoever. $10,000 on your loans. Again, no charge. We just started ag record keeping. It's pretty well self-explanatory. We will do monthly reports for you, check balancing, anything. We can go as far as you want to go with that. We can do field analysis. We can do livestock inventory, as far as you want to go. There is a fee for this. It's $20 a month. As many reports as you want. Income statements, balance sheets, name it, cash flows, budgets, whatever. We have the Pee Wee Penguin Club for our youngsters. We have guaranteed student loans for kids going to college. We have just started Visa, the Visa card. We have IRAs, retirement accounts, CD certificates. We have the 50th anniversary CD for $5,000 for 1 year at 9%. We have savings, we have loans. We have notary public service, whoa, for free of charge. Share drafts is our checking account, 6% interest, low monthly balance. We have savings bonds, no charge, no cash savings bonds. We will not be able to issue savings bonds at the credit unions anymore. It's just something they come out with. You'll have to send in a form. So if you do or are looking for a savings bond, it's maybe something you're going to have to plan a couple weeks in advance. We have automatic loan payments. If you get a loan and you want to take, and it's a monthly loan payment, you want to take it out every month instead of send a check, sign a form. We'll do it for you, no charge. Direct deposits, anybody, Social Security, VA, SSI, free share drafts to people on direct deposits. Doesn't cost you anything. And then you don't have to wait in line when you get your Social Security check. It's just automatically put right in your account. Certified checks, that's just the credit union check. Traveler's checks, any dollar amount, free of charge. NCUA insurance, we're all insured up to $100,000 on all accounts. Any questions?
noticed this nice bouquet of flowers up in front here and, plant, well, okay. They're pretty anyway. And they're a gift from Farmers Union Oil Company for celebration. So let's give them a hand. Any other comments at this time? We're going to go into the anniversary phase of the program after the main business part is done. So we'll be doing some reminiscing in a few minutes on that portion of the program. Anything else pertaining to the current business or new business here? If not, we'll go on to our elections. Our nominating committee this year, we have John Bergred, Richard Linney, and Howard Burns. I don't know which ones are spokesmen, so whichever one's their spokesman, please come forward. Richard. Okay, this is the Maddock committee they'll give the nominations for both the Maddock board, our total board, and the Maddock credit committee, and also the rugby credit committee.
Johnny called me the other night and he said, I think you should get up and do this set because I get a little nervous when I get in front of people. Well, I said, I maybe do that too, but I was talking to Gal before the meeting and she said that she was talking to Gordon before the meeting. And he was walking around and around in circles and he was smoking cigarettes and he looked like he was a little nervous too. And she said, Gordon, does it bother you to get up in front of people? No, he said, that don't bother me. She said, are you sure? Well, no, he said, that don't bother me at all. He said, well, I think I should tell you that you're in the ladies' restroom. The nominating committee for rugby have nominated Leo Hoffert for a 3-year term credit committee. Leonard Schmaltz has been nominated for a 2-year unexpired term. And on Maddock, we have nominated Irvin Peterson for a 3-year term on the credit committee, and Dave Holge for a 3-year term, and Floyd Smith for a 3-year term on the board of directors. I move that this report be accepted.
Well, it should be an nominations. Yeah, right there. Yeah, I want to comment about Dean's term and mine are up on the board, terms for the board. And Dean has chose not to run another term. And I was brave and threw in my hat one more time. So, does that report need to be adopted? Nominating committee? I don't think so. Sure. Okay, you've heard the nominations from Richard. Are there any further nominations for the board of directors? You're free to nominate from the floor as well as nominating committee. Anyone has any name they'd like to throw in on that?
Mr. Chairman, I move nomination closed and the secretary cast a ballot for Dave and Floyd.
Okay, you've heard the motion that nomination cease for directors. Is there a second to that? And the secretary cast an unanimous ballot. Is there a second to that motion? Carried. Second. I think I should be having the vice chairman up doing this. Why don't you continue on? I went too far already.
If you all forgive them, let's see, where are we at here? We got it. All those in favor of the motion of nomination cease, which would be Dave Holge for board of directors for 3 years term and Floyd Smith for 3 years term. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, same sign. Motion carried.
Mr. Secretary, got that help?
I asked him one more time if he wanted me to, so he didn't. Dave Holge and Floyd Smith have been elected by unanimous ballot.
Thank you. Now, is there any further nominations for the Maddock Credit Committee? Are there any further nominations? I think at this time we'll also open it up to nominations for the Rugby Committee also. So if you nominate one, to specify which one it's for. Are there any further nominations for either one of these committees? Okay, you've heard the motion that nomination cease and Student Secretary cast unanimous ballot for these people. Is there a second to that motion? Kenny, second. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Mr. Secretary.
Hereby cast unanimous ballot for Leo Hofford and Leonard Schmaltz for Rugby Credit Committee and Irvin Pearson for Maddock Credit Committee.
Thank you. Now comes the good time, door prizes. We got one of our girls in here. Who do we got? Here, we'll call on Dave Anderson to get our started on our drawings here. First of all, okay, for the, get your numbers out, ladies' prize. We're going to have a drawing for a pair of mugs for the ladies.
Three, 4, 4, 1, 1, 3. 1, 1, 3 are the last three numbers.
113. And the ladies in the where? Oh, come. Oh, the last three. 111. Oh, excuse me. 113. 113. Nobody's got it? Last three numbers, 168. Anybody got it? Ellen? Come and get your mug. We'll draw another number. Next number is 160. And the ladies. Way in the back. Sandy, you win. Next, we're going to give a couple men's prizes away. We can give a couple buckles away. Maybe one of the girls could find a couple. I think we forgot to bring them up here. But anyway, we'll draw for them anyway. Yeah. Ooh, okay. Okay, for a belt buckle, last numbers is in the blue or purple ticket, 488. Chris Jagger. Rob's another buckle.
She'll have to get them.
I guess you'll have to wait a minute. We slipped up and we didn't. They'll be here in about 1 minute. What? Have a chair. Next number is 490. Lenny Fosson. I guess you might as well wait till we get the buckle. We'll call you up. At least you got our drawing done. Then we want to draw for our you might say our biggie for the prizes. We're again going to give a couple a free trip to the state convention at Bismarck on March 23rd and 24th. I guess I better say free. It means registration and free room, and including some meals down there. And usually you can find a ride with someone else here too. So, Later on in our later on in the other portion of our program, we're going to give away some bonds to go with the anniversary celebration. So this is for the trip to the state annual convention, number 478. What's your Louis Hoffer, rugby, so congratulations. Can you go? Are you available on March 23rd and 24th? I think we'll draw an alternate just in case, right? Okay. Okay, this will be the first alternate, 431. Harold Bakken? You don't want your name in there? Okay. This number is 493. Okay, group. So you're number one alternate. Now we got our bucket.
Did you get the numbers on?
Oh, by the way, what numbers on there?
We wrote down the number.
Okay, she's got it. This one's 236. Backside.
237. Which one's that, dude?
This is 236, that's 237. Okay, I think at this time we'll, unless there's any more comments pertaining to our immediate business, we'll go on to the anniversary portion of the program. First of all, I'd like to introduce a group of people that have done a lot of work on getting this organized. Our anniversary committee, we've worked on this now for, I suppose we started 2 years ago. And we have Mavis Arney. I'd like to have these people stand. Mavis Arney, Phyllis Brozart, Wanda Turpening, Bob Friddle, Gordon Arney, and myself. And these people have really helped out in doing a job on this. This time, we handed out a list with the first 50 members from both Maddock and Rugby. We can't find the exact list of who was charter members. It sounds like there's perhaps only a dozen or so that's the charter, but we don't have a definite number in there. So we took the first 50 numbers, and I'd like to recognize these people. Also, there's been some changes on that from the original ones that we have a copy of here. And some that I know of is like, evidently in those early days, when someone ceased to be a member, they filled it in with another person. Like, I know one is, say, Rolf Furr, he's number 28. And he was one of the early members, and he took the spot. I believe it says Hazel Hagan, I believe, on the list. And same way with Dave Anderson's mother. She has a number 1 now for rugby, and yet she must have filled in the spot with another one of the early ones. Now we don't do that. We just continue on as new numbers. We don't fill in absent members. So there may be more of these that we don't know or aren't aware of. But if any of you people whose names are on your list, or Rolf and somebody, we'd just like to recognize you. How many early number of people are here? Please stand. I know Vernon's name's on there. There's several. Let's give these people a hand. And over the period of time, we've had 26 directors. And those of you who've been directors, would you please stand throughout the years? Please stand. Now in our credit committee, there's been 22 people that have served on this committee throughout the years. Would you people please stand? Served on the credit committee. Yeah, we're just thinking here that I think we neglected to mention that Arlo and Gary's position on the credit committee too is one of the members that we on our credit committee. Our supervisory committee, we've had 18 members on that throughout the years. How many are here from been on the supervisory committee that you can remember? Please stand. Now, our education committee only began in 1965, and I believe one of the things they started perhaps is like their newsletter and a few things. I think we have a letter later we'll read from Dwayne Ellingson that tells a little about that. We've had 30 people serve on that committee now since 1965. Would you people please stand? Everybody's been on the education committee. Thank you. And then our most recent person that's been with us for a lot of years is Ronnie Smith is kind of our official photographer. So let's give Ronnie a hand. And also tonight we're fortunate to have our favorite video man from Maddock. We've got Byron Ellingson on the video here recording this for us tonight. So we can throw a few copies in the vault and maybe look at another 25 years down the road. Thank you, Byron. This time I'm going to call on Harvey Piper, past director from 1947 to 51, to give us a few comments about some early history of the credit union. Is the mic working? No.
Raise it up a little bit.
The switch must have been pushed back. Is that better?
Yep.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. It took me most of the forenoon to memorize that. Chairman asked me to be brief. I'm not a student of Shakespeare, but I've read some of his work. And one of his quotations, very famous one, is, "Brevity is the soul of wit." I'll do what I can about brevity, but I probably can't do much else. They say that I'm the oldest living board member, And it's customary for speakers to say, "I'm very glad to be here." It gets to the point where we feel that we're glad to be anywhere. I certainly enjoyed that fabulous dinner that was prepared for us. Certainly my sincere compliments to the cooks. As one of our speakers mentioned, the early credit union movement began in Germany, and I just read a little while ago that the first one in Canada came to be in 1900, and the first one in the United States was in Manchester, New Hampshire in 1909. As I understand it, it was called St. Mary's, and as far as I know, it's still in existence. They've got a few years up on us yet. Some of the early history I might mention, I was at some of the early meetings, but I don't remember much about them, but I've been brought up to date by this book, which is certainly a commendable job on the part of whoever has written it, I think. I hope that when you get it home, you don't lay it up on the shelf with the old Bible and not read it. Rather put it on your coffee table with the new Bible and read them both. One of the first organizational meeting was held January 15th, 1941, and a neighbor of ours out there by the name of Henry Scodlin was the first chairman. Ernie Clevin was vice chairman, and our secretary-treasurer was Norman Rudolph. And I'm sure you all remember most of these people. However, Mr. Scodlin moved his family to Iowa shortly after the credit union was activated. I used to work for him once in a while. We were close neighbors with a 1530 McCormick Deering tractor, they called it in those days. Things have changed a lot since then. And a P&O plow with no rubber tires or no cab or anything. And when one of those lugs on those wheels struck a solid rock, you were lucky to get by with your eye teeth not being cracked. A lot of young farmers nowadays have never had the blessed experience of operating one of those things with lugs, steel lugs and wheels. Henry Scodlin was a very hard worker in the cooperative movement. He helped to organize many cooperatives around here, as did Ernie Clevin, with whom I went to school here at the Yankee School. We used to get together sometimes and talk over situations and decide what the problems, how the problems of the world ought to be solved. We had the answers, but nobody seemed to pay much attention. Not even yet. The first, and then Knut Modley, O.B. Note, Walter Onrud, Eric Olson, M.O. Slolan, Geneva Stickelberger, Kenneth Schumann, and Reuben Rudolph completed the first set of officers. And at the end of 1941, the total assets amounted to $2,458.40. That's a long way from what we have today. Most of you knew Norman Ludahl, who was the manager of the Farmers Union Oil Company here, and the first credit union office was in that building, and he was the first manager. Orville Note was another old warhorse as far as cooperatives were concerned. He believed in them very strongly and did everything he could to help organize them. If I'm not mistaken, I believe that Orville Note made the motion at one of the early meetings that I attended to name this credit union the name that it still carries today. He was a real hard worker for all the cooperatives in the state. Then we had, or in the county, I should say. Then we had Duane Ellingson, who moved to South Dakota, and then of course we have good old Gordon here now. I think this board of directors and all the people who work at the credit union certainly have done a splendid job down through the years. It seems to me that if some of those intelligent moguls down in the Near East, as I call the East Coast of the country, were to read these reports, they probably would have second thoughts about us living out here in Buffalo Commons. I can only offer my sincere congratulations to the board and the staff. The credit union has done a lot for us since over the years. I certainly will be more than willing to write letters to the congressman or anyone else to tell them how the credit union has helped us. So, Gordon, all your people, my sincere congratulations to all of you. And now my mouth is so dry I have to quit. Thank you.
Thank you, Harvey. That was interesting. It even mentioned in the 25-year history here that a certificate of organization was entered in the files of the Register of Deeds, Minnewaca, North Dakota, December 16, 1940, and they even listed where it can be found, in Book U of Miscellaneous, page 27. So, at this time, we'll, is there anyone, I'd like to give a little recognition for our past managers. Is there any relative of the Norman Ludall here to receive a plaque? If not, we have a plaque here honoring Ian Ludall. It says, in appreciation of Ian Ludall, who had the foresight to help organize the Benson County Co-op Credit Union in 1940. He served on the board of directors and held that position for 14 years. As the manager of the Benson County Co-op Credit Union for the first 6 years, Ian Ludall helped make our 50th anniversary a reality. Of course, as Benson County Co-op Credit Union, 1940-1990. One thing that we've noticed going through the records that in the early days, all the managers were also on the board of directors. So it's a little change from now. I also have another plaque to honoring O.B. Note I'd like to read. And I'd like to call Norma Swanson up to receive this for her dad. And it says, in appreciation of O.B. Note, who had the foresight to help organize the Benson County Credit Union in 1940. He served on the first board of directors and held that position for 28 years. As the second manager of Benson County Co-op Credit Union, serving as manager for 19 years. O.B. helped us make our 50th anniversary reality, Benson County Co-op Credit Union.
On behalf of my brothers and sisters and myself, I thank you very much for this plaque that was awarded to my dad. In reading what he wrote 25 years ago, he said, while the boards and committees have served so well, it must be remembered that if it were not for you, the members who have given your wholehearted support, the credit union could not have grown to the extent it has during these first 25 years. And this, of course, holds true with the next 25 years because we're now 50 years old. Also, we would like, on behalf of my family and myself, thank the credit union for establishing the O.B. Note Scholarship. That was a great tribute to my family, we feel, and thank you for that. And I'd also like to say, Cindy mentioned that kids can get college loans. Well, this kid is exactly the same age as this credit union, and she's got one too.
Thank you, Norma. And we had invited Dwayne Ellingson down tonight, and he couldn't make it, and he sent a letter with it. And I'd like to call on Oscar Clevin to read this letter. And Oscar's significant here on account of his dad was the first vice president of this credit union. So it's nice to see that family tradition still carrying on.
tried to get out of this, but they insisted, so you're gonna have to bear with me. You should have complained to the board earlier if you don't like it. Thank you for inviting me to participate in the 50th of our credit union. Dorothy and I have been looking forward to taking part in this gala event, but now it appears that we'll be unable to fulfill those wishes. It goes on to explain a little bit that they've been fighting the flu like the rest of us. He says, I do have some things that should be mentioned. Of course, the one that really knew the history was Mr. Creighton in those early years. Mr. O.B. Note is no longer with us. I will always have a very fond spot in my heart for O.B. as he had a great deal to do with launching me on a very fulfilling and rewarding career in credit union management. The credit union philosophy that he instilled in my mind has never deserted me, enabled me to carry on in the credit union tradition. Thank you, O.B. I guess my first contact with the credit union was in 1954 for a car loan, naturally, and I became a very interested member, and at the time went by I became a director, chairman of the board, and possibly some other positions, and finally was hired as manager. I expect you probably remember in those early years that the credit union was in the same office as the manager of the Farmers Union Oil Company, as well as the bookkeeper and the Farmers Union insurance agent, and anyone else that might need some office space. Hardly the ideal setting for conducting confidential financial transactions. Things became somewhat better when some extra office space was built and Mr. Note had a private office for his insurance business as well as for the credit union business. Growth of the credit union was pretty well stymied by those conditions, and we decided something needed to be done to salvage this wonderful fledgling of people helping people financial institutions. We proceeded to purchase a parcel of real estate from Earl Mildy for some $760 and some odd dollars, if memory serves me right, and proceed to construct a building to meet our needs, which in due time was completed and occupied at a total cost for land, building, and furnishings of approximately $14,000. At the same time, Mr. Note, semi-retired from the insurance business, was hired as full-time manager of the credit union. A monthly newsletter was born and was then, as it is now, put out by those hardworking people on the education committee. However, our members were proud of what we had done and gave us great support, even though we could only afford to pay 3.5% on savings when the banks and savings loans were paying 4 and 4 1/4. We kept telling everyone that once we reached $1 million in assets, our situation would become much better, and that's pretty much the way it happened. I am firmly convinced that we had not taken those rather daring measures when we did, there would not be a credit union in Maddock today. For that, we are most grateful. There is one more thing that needs to be brought up, and this is what happened exactly 25 years ago. The 25th anniversary of our credit union was fast approaching, and we wanted to do something very special. There was no money in the budget. I went to the next board meeting talking to my wife, taking my life in my hands, and suggested that we rent the gym at the old ag school and that the members of the board of directors, the credit committee and education committee, management and their spouses donate, prepare, and serve the food for the dinner of our 25th celebration. Believe it or not, I was not fired on the spot. And that is exactly what happened. Talk about volunteerism being alive and well. The board of directors, the credit committee, the education committee, and the past management have done an outstanding job over the years. There was a period of good years, but the last years have been nothing short of disastrous for your local economy, and management and the board of directors have needed to make some very difficult decisions and policy changes. Certainly not all of them have been popular with the membership, but necessary to maintain the financial health of your credit union and in many instances for the members as well. You are to be congratulated for a job well done. We extend our congratulations on the celebration of your 50 years of being in the people business. We wish you well with your anniversary, all your planned festivities, and wish you continued success in the future. And then, those that know Dwayne, you know, he's got to have another comment in there. And Gordon already, he's seen this, so he's one up on him. But it says, P.S. I am enclosing an article from the Rapid City Journal that I was going to refer to had I been there. I have been a close friend of Gordon Arney for 35 years. That must be what they needed that car loan for. But not until recently did I realize how important he really is. Important enough to even have a blizzard named after him by the Grand Forks Herald. The first North Dakota blizzard of 1990 was named the Arney Blizzard. I suppose you really stop to think about it, that it's rather quite appropriate, as blizzards are also cold and windy. We've got a copy of it in there.
Co-op Credit Union serving for 3 years. Dwayne Ellingson helped make our 50th anniversary reality. So we will get this to him. And now we have Gordon. So we are looking forward to some comments from Gordon about the past few years.
My comments start on page 25. I wrote a few comments for the history book here from when I started managing, but I tell you, I had more fun going through old records from when the credit union started. When you look back at some of the old minutes and stuff, like 1941, $25 loan without security, and the biggest loan was $100 with security. One of the first loans ever given out in the credit union that they kept record of, $15, and the guy had 3 cosigners. Here's one my board was loving. 1944, board of directors met once this year. 1948, 26 loans made this year. And there was one other year that made 2 loans. I can't find it right now. 1944, 2 loans made for the year. 1948, 26 loans made. And out of the 26, 15 of them were paid off in full. 11 had outstanding balances. And so it goes through the years. The biggest thing that ever happened to the credit union was when they moved out of the Farmers Union Oil Company and built their own building and got out on their own. That's when things started happening. And we outgrew that building. When I took over, it was a 2-person operation. And I guess we outgrew that building in about 3 years. I believe it was 1976. We bought and remodeled the bakery. I think we spent a total of about $41,000 doing that. And we're still in the building today, but we're out of room now. But as you think back through the years, you know, and all the services we added, 1977 was a big year. Arnie Paulson remembers when they tried to take our share draft accounts away from us and everybody took off for Bismarck, and boy, we made them bankers look like some dumb fools, I tell you. Nothing against bankers, all there used to be on a bank board. And another thing I remember, like last year with all the bad legislation against us, we organized a bus trip down to Bismarck. We had an overpacked bus. I think we had 2 people sitting on chairs. And there was, from Maddock and Rugby, all but 7 people were from Maddock and Rugby that went down that bus. And we really appreciate things like that when people turn out and help us. And I guess the people that I really have to thank is my staff, but also the board of directors. Because without a good board, you wouldn't get anything done. But the board has been willing to go along with things that we've suggested all through the years. Most of them have turned out pretty good. Some of them we've had problems with, but they're going to have another big decision before too long, which we'll be building. And there isn't too many more years. I keep telling them every month that that retirement check looks better all the time. But I really enjoyed the credit union. It's the only place I've ever borrowed money from in my life is the credit union in Maddock here. I've never borrowed money in any other place. That's my comments, and I've thoroughly enjoyed it, and I hope I can put in a few more years. Thank you.
Thank you, Gordon. As a board member as well as a regular member of the credit union, we really appreciated the work that Gordon's done for us. And I always say Gordon's a man with a calculator built in his head. I have never met a man that he can get the figures down about as fast as the rest of us can punch the keys in our calculator at night when we have our 10-hour board meetings most evenings. And about the time we can't even think straight at 1 o'clock in the morning, he can still seem to figure. So we really appreciate all the work he's done. Gordon's favorite time, is get down at 6 o'clock on Sunday morning and do the work with nobody else there to bother him. He's done a lot of work beyond his normal hours that he should be, and he's been involved so extremely much in state and national organization the last few years. I question whether there's another individual in North Dakota that's been more involved than Gordon has in a number of years. Right, Arnie? So, I remember he asked us one time, he said, you think I should really take part in this serving on the state board or the national board? And I believe the comment came out of the board. We asked him right out this, well, are you getting your job done here first? And we agreed he was, so we said go ahead and go for these other jobs to support our. It's extremely important that a person like Gordon is on these state and national committees, because our credit union is so unique. There's just a handful of our credit unions that deal in agriculture like we do, and they don't even know, what it's all about. We've had to fight the National Credit Union even on our own limitations for the dollars we can borrow out. They cut us in half a few years ago on the amount of dollars that can be borrowed to one individual. They don't realize that a farmer needs $200,000 or $300,000 or $400,000 sometimes in loans. And things like this that we are constantly after and fighting for. I have a plaque for Gordon too, in appreciation of Gordon Arney, whose dedicated service has contributed to the success of the Benson County Co-op Credit Union. He served on the credit committee for 5 years, has been a league board member for 9 years, and was named the 1987 North Dakota Credit Union Professional of the Year. He's currently served on as a national director of the Credit Union National Association and as a member of their lending committee. As manager of the Benson County Co-op Credit Union for the past 22 years, Gordon helped us make our 50th anniversary reality. Now I'll call on Dave Anderson for a brief report from the Rugby Credit Union.
Hopefully brief it'll be here, but as I was sitting here tonight, Gordon said something that I was wondering about. Gordon, when I came to work for the credit union 3 years ago, my training consisted of spending a little bit of time in Maddock, a little bit of time in Bismarck at a training session, but you started your training in Jamestown. I was just wondering, were you the one that coined that thing that says you don't have to be crazy to work here, but it helps? Maybe that explains why we have $13 million in ag loans, and the next biggest credit union, who is 3 times as big as us, has $8 million. But anyway, hopefully that's not crazy. Credit union rugby. There has been a credit union rugby since June 14th, 1955. We're not quite as old would not have been quite as old as Maddock had been. A span of 35 years. 7 people were chartered the credit union on that day by signing a certificate of organization. I'm going to read these 7 names, and I would like, if any of these people are here tonight, I know some are, if they would stand as I'm reading their names, I'd like to recognize them. William Rudolph, James Mears, Henry Burke, Cecil Paul, Ralph Bullock, Melvin Larvick, and Ardell Fedge. I know we have 2 here. I'd like to give these people a hand. this time too, I'd like to take the liberty, I know Dave didn't do it, but, and I hope it's okay with the board and Gordon that we do this, but I think, you know, you've been looking at this list of names here all night, we handed them out as you came in the room and so on. And I think, you know, you can read it for yourselves, but I would like at this time for everybody from Rugby and Maddock, who were one of the first 50 members, I think they should stand right now and we should give those people a round of applause, because it was those 50 people from each place that actually did the starting of it. And it was a slow growth in the beginning, and I think those 50 people should be recognized from each place. Maybe you could stand, just see how many we do have here. If you see your name on the list, go ahead and stand up from Rugby and Maddock both. Not too many, I suppose. A lot of them have these. In Rugby, Chester Gilmore was the first manager of the office, which was located in a small room in the Farmers Union Oil Building in Rugby. I remember it quite well, because that is where it was located when I joined in the late 50s or early 60s. I kept forgetting to look up that date, so I didn't know exactly when it was. When you joined the credit union at that time as a child, you were given a little bank shaped like a rocket and had a little device on it which you could shoot money into itself with. You put a little coin in the slot and it shot the money in. Well, it worked about as well as I did at saving, as I was more interested in stimulating the economy than I was in saving at the credit union. A list of the first 50 members is posted, or was given, I guess I should read my writing. Thought if I wrote this it would come off a little better. But the credit union grew and moved around town a few times, and in the 1970s it ended up at its present location at 130 South Main, Rugby, North Dakota. In February of 1984, we merged with the Benson County Co-op Credit Union of Maddock and became the Benson County Co-op Credit Union Rugby branch. Since that time, we've grown rapidly in both loans and savings. Until today, we are proud to be part of a $24 million credit union that offers, without a doubt, the best deal in town for its members' financial needs. People of Rugby are glad to be a part of and join in to help the Benson County Co-op Credit Union celebrate its 50th anniversary. And I think they deserve a round of applause, the board of directors, the manager, and everybody in Maddock. That's the one thing it is about working at the credit union when you tell people about our services and what we have to offer. You know, it's pretty simple. All you have to say is we got the best deal in town. And I would challenge anybody to find a better deal at a different financial institution, because I don't think you're going to find it. You're not going to find the free services or the low interest rates or the good deals on Visa or anything else, because it is very good. Thank you.
Thank you. This time Gordon has a presentation.
Yes, being Dean Lingren decided not to run again, we'd like to give him this little plaque and appreciation. It says, presented to Dean Lingren for 6 years of dedicated service to the Benson County Co-op Credit Union, Maddock and Rugby, as a member of the board of directors.
Thank you, Gordon. Now for a fun part. We're going to auction off our 2 sets of belt buckles. It's been kind of one of our fun things throughout the anniversary, developing this buckle. Interesting when you start with this, how I suppose it took about half a year of just designing the buckle, and really it's fun to see this end result. And we've also we've got 2 sets of them here, some polished brass and our regular pewter one. Numbers, which is which? Is that one? Number 1, both ones, and we've only got 10 of the polished brass, so that's number 10 and number 100 over here. So, and we're on record as the board of directors as to make any total money that's taken off of these buckle sales will be donated to the Maddock and Rugby schools, we believe, to the music department. We're going to find the most needy place for it in the school system, so that none of the funds will go into, you know, credit union treasury. So that should make bidding a lot more fun. So this time we'll call on Arlo to conduct our auction for us. And being I can't think of any good stories, we got to count on Arlo for one. I want everybody to stand up for a minute here and stretch a little bit. It's been a long sit for you people. Get up and stretch a little bit. That'll give Arnold time to think about the story.
I don't believe I've seen this room as full since they had the Miss Teenage contest here. When was that? Quite a number of years ago. This was packed. And folks, when he said stand up and stretch, I happened to be the master of ceremonies that night, and they kind of had a separate stage out here where they'd march these pretty girls, and I was having a hard time reading anyway. And the lights went off over there, and the script was rolled off, and on there it said, would everybody please stand up and stretch? And I misread it, and I said, would everybody please stand up and scratch? It has got to be quite a while, but we won't be here much longer. I was amused at the report from Washington, and I'm not sure where I sat if I got the name of that bill correct, but it just dawned on me it was named right. It was correct. What did you say the name of that bill was? For right? It sounded to me, what was it? Yeah, it sounded like diarrhea. And from Washington it fits. I also noticed the pretty flowers down here. And it happened that there was a business, just like your credit union here, outgrew themselves and they had to move to a new place. And someone sent them flowers. And I suppose it was a local undertaker like they do here, but they got the flowers mixed up because at the new place the flowers said, rest in peace. And out at the cemetery there was a bouquet that says, congratulations on your new location. I see Pastor Bob here, and I can tell some stories, Captain. You might not agree with me after I tell this one, but I thought it was funny. And folks, we have to keep our sense of humor in this day and age. And that's one thing I've noticed getting back to credit union. Some days it doesn't go good. We go in there once a week, and many times, Irving, more than once a week. I think probably we would average more like 2 times a week last year being on their credit committee. But I do notice one thing. When you walk in the door, first you meet the pretty young lady that was down here giving you what's going on with a big smile. You go a little further, there's Bernie with a big smile. You go back on. Every one of the girls always smile and say good morning. And we get back to Wanda, and she's got a tough job. She's always got some candy there, maybe some coffee, and she always says good morning with a smile. And that's why your credit union, Gordon, is doing so good. Because, you know, some of the places people don't smile, they're not doing so good. Some of the S&Ls, I've been in those, they don't smile like your girls do. And I want to recognize Gary Wald, one of the fellows in Irving Peterson that serve on the committee with me, and they kind of cover for me because a couple months or weeks in the wintertime I try to get away, and they cover for me when I'm gone. And Gary Wald and Irving, you stand up. 2 guys that I see twice a week, I believe they meet with the credit officer there, Wanda, and Gary Wald here in Irving Peterson. Some of you folks probably think they're hired to work down there, but they're kind of volunteers and they work on the credit committee. Now, for the story, but I heard it, it's funny and we got to laugh. Keep up for a sense of humor. The 50th year reminds me of Grandpa and Grandma. They've been married 50 years, celebrating their anniversary. They were sitting out in the porch in the rocking chairs, rocking away one night after supper. And Grandma reaches over there and knocked Grandpa right out of the rocking chair. Well, he dusted himself, got up, sat back down. He says, "No, what was that for?" She said, "For 50 years of lousy love." He sat down, rocked away. All of a sudden, he reached over there and knocked her out of the chair. She got up. She said, "Now, what was that for?" He said, "For knowing the difference." I think we'll sell the belt buckle. What do you want to sell first? The number 1, I believe. The number 1. One is polished brass. The other one is what? You're beautiful. I think if you got those books, folks, if you haven't seen the buckles, the picture of them is on the book. Who designed them? Boy, that's a pretty belt buckle. We'll sell the number 1, the polished brass. All right, who said 100? Now 125. I've been born here, now a quarter. I've been born here, 125. Bid 100, it's 125. 100 here, now 120. Who do you give 110? I've been born here, make them one. Say, Dean, you look over there. and Arnie, you look over there, and I can look straight ahead. My vision here, the place is full, and you folks can bid over there, bid to him. If you wave your hand, Arnie, just holler, yeah, just like a bull sale. Let's go. 110. I bid 100. Who said 110? I bid more here. Now, this is the number one buckle, and you, 110. Now to get 20. Now 120. I bid 110 here. Now to get 20 for him. Now to get 30, sir. 130. I'm 30. Now to get 40 for him. 140. Now 50. Now half. 150. 140 here. Now to get 50 for him. 50. Did you say it, sir? Now 150. Now 60. 160. Now to get 70 for him. 170 out of here. Now 70. There we get 170. 70. 70. 160 back here. Now 170. And now 180 for him. Now 180. Hey, folks, that's the polished brass. Looks like gold. 180. 170 here, now 80 for him, $80 here, 170 for him, here 180, 170, 180 all in the run, 170, now 180, thank you, now 190. I bid 180 here, now 190, now 200, 200 even money, 200, 200 for him, make it 200, say, when you get 200, $200 off, 200 for him, make it even money here, $200, it's going to where, what, who needs the money worse, the music department or the athletic department, it's going to school, 200, 200, 190, 200, all in, hold on. 190, who said 200, 200, 200, and I? Thank you, now 210, 210, 210. I have a 2 here, now we get 10, 210, now we get 20, sir, 220, 200, it's only money, sir, 220, 210 and 20, all in, and 210 and 220, and I sold it, $210, they're bidding behind me here. Who's the winner? Hard 90, let's give him a big hand. Okay, now the other one. Do you get both of them? Yeah. Oh! You get them both! This is number one. Number 10 and number 100. Number 10 and 100. All right, I'm going to give on. Who said 50? And now 75 here. You get them both now. I did 50 for him here, now 75, 75, they're 50 for him here, now to get 75, 70, who's at 60? 50 on him here, now $60 here, 60 for him here, 50, now 60, now 60, and now 70, yes, and now 80, and 80 for him there, and $80 here, bid 70 here, 80 for him here, out D, now 80, I've been 70 for him there, $80 for him, and $80, 70 over here, $80, I'm going to give 80, I've been 70 for him here, now $80 here, did you say 80? Thank you, now 90. Now 100, get her in the dandy, that's my wife. Get her in over here, now 100, now 100, now 110, 110, now 20, 120, 110, now 20, you're out, need 120, 110 here, 120, 110, 20, now 30, 130, 120, make it 30, now 30, there, 30, 30, 30, 130, 30, all in, all done, 120, 130, and I, thank you, now 40, now 50, over here, now 50, I bid 150, 60, now 70, now 70, like 60 here, 70 for them there, 70, 70, 70, 160 here, now 70 for them there, $70 here, 160, now 70. Thank you, now 180, 180, 180, 170, 180 here, 80, 170, 180, all in, all done, 170, 180, and thank you, now 90, now 90, now 200. Let's beat the other ones, 200, and 200. 190 there, 200 for him, make it 2, let's say, 2 to mine, 200, 200 for me, 2 there, now make it 200 and a 200, anybody 200 and a 190, 200 and a, sold to Mr. Olson, $190, give him a hand, thank you.
Well, thank you, that was fun. A good souvenir. We are getting close to the end of our program. At this time, we're open, and if there's any of you folks have any comments you'd like to present before the meeting, Elvern?
Looking at your report, I'd like to reminisce in 1941. Ernest Clevin was pushing for membership, and it only costs $5, he said. I didn't have the $5 50 years ago. But that's not, that's understandable when you see the first accumulation was only 2,000, and this guy borrowed $15 on 3 coat hangers, why it's understandable. But I'm happy to say that 50 years later I have at least $10 in here.
Thank you, Albert.
And that's a funny thing, when you look back in the old records and it cost $5 to join, there was many of them that paid 25 cents at a time till they got their $5 in there.
I feel better now.
Any further comments? If not, we've got a few more little plaques I'd like to hand out at the moment this time. Do we have Jimmy Gilbertson here? Come on up, please. I'll read you. We're donating a one buckle set to the Maddock Historical Society, emphasizing our 50th anniversary, and we're going to hopefully it could be displayed someplace along with a couple mugs and some history books.
Thank you very much. These will make a nice addition to our permanent collection, and we'll find a prominent place to display them. Thanks again.
And now we were a little bit sneaky with this last one. We have a set of, this is buckle set number 4. We're presenting to Gordon for his loyal work. We didn't want to spoil the fun of the auction, so we let Gordon figure out what he's going to do with it. So it says to Benson County Coop Credit Union, 1940 to 19. 50th anniversary to Gordon Arney, President, presented in recognition of 22 years of outstanding service as manager.
Of course, it was about 1 o'clock when we started talking about this stuff. Thank you.
Nobody could figure out where that last belt buckle was. They just never seemed to find it to get it distributed. So anyhow, we've had our fun with this. This time we're going to have 4 drawings for $50. 5? Okay, we have 4 adult drawings for $50 bonds, and we're going to have one for the youth drawing. We've got the youth drawing can up here, so we'll draw that first. Okay, I think what we'll do on this for the kids, we'll just take a number and we'll let the kids get it whether they're in here or not. Because okay, we could do that. Send the number down the room and see if they're still here. Okay, here is a good suggestion. Someone bring the can down to the room where the kids are and then draw and then come back with us with an answer. So now we'll draw for 4 $50 bonds. We've mixed the men and ladies tickets together. We'll just issue a certificate this time. You'll have to stop at the credit union and get the proper paperwork done on this. First number, this happens to be in the blue for number 400, 400. Elvin Schaefer, good. Here we got one in the gold ticket here, 115. Mrs. Harlan Helgeson. Now we have the blue ticket again, 472. Jomer Hermanson. Now we've got a gold one again, ladies. 184. Go up in the back row, Mrs. Stubbvalier. Congratulations. I think we should, let's give away another 4 mugs. Just pulled out of the... Okay, we've got the names here, little certificates for those of you who have won the bonds. And before you go home tonight, grab this up here so you bring them along to the credit union. I'll just grab a couple of the ladies' numbers here for another two sets of 2 mugs. 171. Self-diving. Next number is 114. We have a 114. Marianne Lenny.
No, it's Becky Wall.
Becky Wold. I'm probably going to jump our board decision here on door prices. We know we got 2 more buckles up here. We might as well give them away.
Oh, Christopher.
Here's our lucky winner for $50 savings bonds. His name is Christopher Jacobson.
Now, one more drawing here. Number in blue, 531 for another belt buckle. Ernest Meyer. We'll take one more too. Okay, number 366 in the blue. Roll you over. Anyone else have any further comments about for the evening?
The first 2 that got the belt buckles, did you get a case? One of you missed the case, Lenny.
If I hear no further comments, we've had a meeting got a little lengthy, but we were so happy that you all stuck through it. It's been a pleasure serving on the board throughout these times. We learn a lot, and I've had an exceptional board to work with. We're going to miss Dean on the board. He's, like we say, Dean is one of these guys that's always willing to look at both sides of the story and make a good decision. So we'll miss you, Dean. So with no further, if I hear of no further business this time, I'll be... Yeah, we're going to put a couple cans outside the door now. The meeting is adjourned for some pocket change or dollar bills or 5s or 10s, whatever you want to put in to support the legislative end of our credit union movement through the grassroots program. So at this time, I'll declare the 50th anniversary meeting adjourned. Thank you for coming. Yeah, would Floyd Smith come up here and we'll reorganize the board?